Welcome to another episode of Just Breathe, the podcast for Black moms and mom adjacent women by Black moms and mom adjacent women. And today, in our series of We Don't Talk About That, we're talking about parenting while still healing. And today I have my very good friend, Jacinta Gholston, and we're going to dig into talking about parenting while still healing from your own ish. So, Jacinta, first of all, introduce yourself and tell the people about you and your family.
Hey, everybody.
Empty nesthood.
Yes.
And whatever that looks like.
Whatever that looks like. And we don't know yet
At all.
what it looks like, but we shall discover it very soon.
I can't wait.
You can't wait. Okay, yeah. Yeah,
Pray my strength.
it has come upon us. We are here now. I'm going to pray your strength. Yeah.
All right. So, healing while parenting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All of us.
All of us. Yeah.
So, when you think about like childhood trauma or issues from childhood or mothers who are mothering while never having been mothered. So if you have like mother wounds or things like that,
Right.
how are we doing this?
Well, I think that it matters. You matter.
Yeah.
Okay, right? So when we say, how are we doing this? I think that it really depends on the person. So I think that sometimes we generalize that it's all of us.
Yeah.
But everybody, there may be one small detail that makes the difference in how one person is doing it. There are a lot of similarities, but then there's something different. So I think that we're doing it because we have to.
Oof.
Right? We have to do it because you can't stop living.
That's true. That's true.
Right? So many things are going to come. Life is going to come. You're still going to be processing. You're still going to be dealing with all the things that you're dealing with, but you have to do it. We don't have an option.
Is that part. I think it's the we don't have an option part.
Right.
That if you're Black and if you're a Black mom,
Right.
you don't have the option.
No.
We can't just take the time off and be like, y'all know what? I'm gonna go over here and heal and deal with
For
my
6
own
months.
stuff for 6 months.
Correct. I'm gonna take a leave. I'm on vacation.
I'm gonna put my
Right.
out of
I'm
office
going
on.
to holiday. Right.
We don't get to holiday.
We don't holiday.
We can't
No.
put our out of office on.
No,
we
we
gotta
can't.
keep moving.
We have to keep moving.
So if you could think of,
Yeah.
I think about just people in my own circle, people that I know who came from the generation. Like I know my mom came from the generation of like we didn't get hugs, we didn't get a lot of I love yous. There wasn't any like spy mom and daughter moments. We didn't have any of that. I grew up literally like not being mothered. Like I didn't have the blueprint of what it looked like to be a mom.
Wow. Yeah.
Like that was involved in caring and
Yeah,
loving and
yeah.
like all the things. My mom made sure we had. You're gonna get
What you
4
needed.
squares,
Yeah.
a roof over your head.
Yeah.
You're gonna get these things, and like that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. So then here I am, a mom,
Yeah.
trying to figure out and make sure that my kids have the opposite experience and just trying to figure it out. What would you say is like one of the main ingredients that we need to be able to do that?
So I think I'll say something to this. So you talked about your upbringing with your mom.
Yeah.
And I'll say that I was raised by a mother who had a child in high school, got married to that child's father very young because my mother was the type of mom that said, I won't have bastard children.
Oh,
And so she got married. No, she was like, I ain't having no bastard kids. Okay.
that generation.
I don't know what it was. Okay. But that was her mindset. Like, you gonna have a daddy.
Yes.
Right. You know, and I'm like, okay. So she got married young.
Yeah.
Right. Then she got pregnant. She divorced, got married to my dad. I was at the wedding in her belly. Okay. Because she not what?
Not gonna
Having
have
no
no
bastard
bastard.
kids. And so got married. I mean, I don't think she loved my dad. Like they were married forever. But my mother was very strong. My mother was very matter of fact and to some extent controlling. Now, she loved me, but it was very my way or the highway.
That's real.
But I also felt loved,
yeah.
right? Although we didn't do a lot of to your point, like spa days and things like that, there was a way that she loved me that I don't know if I realized that it should have been a different way.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And
For
I'm
sure.
okay with it.
For sure.
You know, I'm okay with it. But I think that today, hindsight, we look back and we say,
Some ingredients was
wait,
missing.
something something just ain't right. Right.
Legit.
You have those moments where you're like, wait, something just isn't right. And I think the first part is understanding that they were not perfect.
Yes. Oh,
that
for
they
sure.
have their own stuff.
Yeah.
They had their own way. They were raised a certain way. Like my mother told me stories like, oh, I had to scrub the floors with toothbrushes. And
Oh,
I
for
was like,
sure.
who did that? not grandma, you
And
know,
why?
like, and why was a mop not appropriate? You know, like, and so bringing that into motherhood and then mothering me and then me having to mother my child, I think that there were some things for me that I looked at and I said, I don't want to be that. And it wasn't because I looked at my mom and felt like you did something wrong. It was just that I looked at myself and I said, I don't want to carry that same stuff that I see wasn't okay with my daughter. You know, does that
No,
make
I
sense?
appreciate that.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like,
what was that? What was the I don't want to do that? Like, what caused
Yeah.
you to say these are things that I'm gonna take that were good from my mom?
Yep.
She made me feel loved. She
Yep.
instilled some values.
Yep.
All of these
Yep.
things. But also that's something.
That's good.
What
It
was it?
So one of them was the you do what I say. Right. So like I said, my mother was controlling, but I don't think that she was controlling from the perspective of trying to hurt me. I think that she saw her own life and didn't want me to repeat.
Yeah.
Or she was, you're not going to do that because that's not what's good for you. And in my relationship with my daughter, I am very much, what decision do you want to make?
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, this is what's going to affect your life.
Yes.
I can't control that part, right?
Yeah, no, that's
my mother and I had very good conversations. Like, so that wasn't an issue. Like, we talked about legit everything, okay? Mom was really wrong, okay? So we talked about everything. So I think that was one of the good, because I don't always want to highlight like the horror of everything.
Sure.
So the plus of things also was that mom also taught me that it was okay to have real and open and honest conversations with your mother without feeling like I can't say this. You know, like when I was a little older, I was like, I think I'm in heat. It's spring and I feel like things are springing. She was like, and it's okay. Or she would laugh and I'd be like, right, so what I'm supposed to do? Because I love Jesus and I don't want to go to hell. So what I'm supposed to do?
She said something has to give.
Yeah. She was like, well, you gonna have to pray, you know, but I'm saying, but I was able to have that conversation.
Yeah.
But there was but of course, you know, on the back end, you have those things where you're like, I didn't really like the way that happened with us. And so I'm going to kind of shift that with my own child. Like, hey, you can do whatever you want to do within these boundaries. And then we need to have conversation about it. So at least you're being guided and not just wilding out, right?
Just
so
out there doing your own thing.
So I think that was for me, one of those, like, I ain't really like the way that felt. And sort of kind of still healing from it and breaking free from feeling like I have to do things that other people want me to do.
That's real. See, it's that part.
That's part.
And I know for me, I can say that not being able to ask questions when I was growing up, like you just did it. Like you, it was like, do what I say, do.
Correct.
Don't ask any questions. This is the way it was. Like stupid stuff. Like I couldn't put my hands in my pockets.
No.
I couldn't put my hands in my pockets. I couldn't spit.
Well, let's not do that.
I mean, but just like, why can't, if it's something in my mouth, I gotta
swallow it. Yes.
I don't understand.
Swallow it. That was the one. Swallow your
like silly things. Like, and we weren't allowed to ask questions as to why. Like it was like, I can't put my hands in my, is there something wrong with
my pockets?
Why can't I have pockets? Yeah. And it's so funny because now in adulthood, I won't wear dresses without pockets.
Because pockets are.
Listen, the pockets
are pocketing. We need them. We don't even know how to function without pockets anymore.
But the fact that I couldn't when I was younger, I was like, what is my obsession with pockets? And I was like, oh, childhood trauma.
But like, I love that part though, because I love that you have those moments of aha.
Yes.
Right? Yes. I tell people all the time, there was always a trigger point.
Oh,
you gotta go back to, where did it change? Or where did this happen?
Yes.
And so it's little things that people don't think about, like, why are you like this? And I have these conversations with myself, with my husband, with my daughter all the time, like, pause. Why do you feel like that? Because it didn't just start today.
It didn't. And it often comes from how we were raised.
Absolutely.
And we don't recognize that when we become parents, like how you were raised, you need to have those conversations with yourself
first.
You need to have those conversations with your spouse or
Yes.
whoever you laying down having a baby with, because
Correct.
that ish matters. And I think that is
Yeah.
something that I'm definitely doing different with my kids. I'm like, hey, you need to ask that question.
Yeah.
You need to. My kids question
everything,
and they ask questions, and that's something that when my husband and I got married, Maya grew up being able to ask questions.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't like that. What are you doing? Why are you doing this? Whatever the case is, and I would give her answers because my voice was taken away when I was young.
Yeah.
So when my son comes around and I got married, he was like, he's just supposed to do it, and I was like, oh no, that's
and it's so hard for them.
But we never had that
conversation because it's who told us that we were supposed to, though.
Nobody. So we
had certain conversations before we got married, like the high level conversations.
Yep.
But here's the thing too. Let's just be real honest about it. There are some things that you just don't know until you're in it.
Yes.
And then there are some things that other people don't know how to put language to even help you with that. So you just don't know. Yep. And so you do learn those things as you're going to like, oh, this is a conversation not about like how many kids you want. Like we stop right there. Or but we don't really talk about the depths of how we parent.
We didn't.
Because as moms, we parent, to me, I'm going to say this, and looking at all of my community, we parent very differently than our husbands do.
Oh, for sure.
It's just different. And they think of things a different way. Like my husband cannot understand why my daughter doesn't wash dishes. And I said, if I know that that is something that she absolutely hates, like she abhors it, like with all of her being, okay? Why would I put her through that stress and mental anguish, forcing her to do something that honestly she's going to get a dishwasher? She's definitely going to use paper plates.
You like this one thing?
This one thing, is it that trivial that we got to force? Well, she's supposed to do chores and do the dishes. I said, but why? Like the girl works 3 jobs. So we're not teaching her to be lazy. It's dishes.
And is there something else that can teach her that same skill?
That same skill set.
Does she have to learn it this way? Yeah, it doesn't. But that's being able to rethink and reimagine
and heal. Because now we're trying to heal the stuff that we're dealing with, and we don't look at it like it's healing. And I want to admonish everyone to understand that healing does not always have to be because there was this like horrible thing that happened. It's sometimes just simply correcting or reprogramming wrong thinking.
Like being able to put your hands in your pockets.
Correct.
Because imagine if I raise my kids saying, don't put your hands in your pocket.
In your pocket. Where they're supposed to put them.
Just like this. Just dangling around.
Just out here like,
I don't know.
All day.
So what is something that you can say, and I'm going to ask this question, like what is something that your daughter has taught you about healing? Like something that you can say, like motherhood and just being around her has taught you about healing. I know that for me, having a daughter first and being a single mom, she really taught me the importance of spending time doing nothing. My mind is always racing. It's always going. I'm always doing something. And my daughter is very much, this is the way I'm going to do it. Nobody is going to be able to convince me otherwise. I would like this thing. And either you come on board with this or it's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
My son, being autistic, has taught me patience.
My God.
It's a struggle sometimes still.
I don't even ask for that.
I didn't ask for it. God felt I needed it. So he gave
me
Malachi. Because not being able to force him to move faster.
Right.
Not being able to force him to eat certain things, wear certain things.
Yeah.
Like we would put pants on him when he was younger, and we would come back and
they were gone.
And we just were like, why this boy don't want pants on? I didn't understand it. But having to put the same pair of pants on a running around town over and over again, it teaches one patience.
Yes, it does.
So what's something that your daughter has taught you?
She taught me how to be comfortable in my own skin. She really, really did. She used to say all the time, like, Mom, church has ruined you.
My church has ruined you.
And I'm gonna tell you why. So when I talk about my own skin, I mean like in my own skin. Like you ain't gotta cover everything all the time. It's okay for you to have a little out.
A little shape.
Or
yes.
Are you wearing booty shorts when we go on vacation? I was like, I got some. She was like, yes, ma. Like biggest hype person. I love it when you dress like this. I love it when you look like you're a young mom, but you're not. Because I want you to look like a young mom, but I still want you to act like my mother.
She said still act your age now. Don't
be an auntie. Don't
Amanda said, hold on.
Hold on. Be auntie. But I need you to look like sis, right?
Yes.
But she has taught me and has encouraged me to be free and to be comfortable in my own skin.
I love
and
that
I'm
so
like,
much.
yeah, I'd be like, do I look cute? She'd be like, I like her. I'm like, okay.
Isn't it funny how when our kids are young, we're like, I'm not one of your little friends. But then the older they
get, you know what? I've never told her that though.
Listen, I told my daughter that from the time she was young. I'm like, I'm not one of your little friends. And every time I talk to her now, she's like, I thought I was one of.
But you know
I
what?
call her my bestie. And I definitely do an outfit check when I come downstairs.
But I've never said that to her. And that's one of the things, like, I've never been like, I ain't one of your little friends. I've never done that to her.
That is so funny.
And so, but it's funny to hear other people be like, because that's your friend. She's like, she knows she's my daughter. I know I'm her mother. And it's funny because I used to tell my husband all the time, you don't have to keep asserting that you're her dad.
Yes.
You're her dad. Just be her dad. And so I don't know that I ever felt like I had to remind her, I'm not one of your little friends. Whenever she would get a little far, I'd be like, hold, tone, we're not doing that.
I love that.
Right? You know, I'd be like,
quick correction.
Quick correction. Or I would say, I've always said to her, you are free to say whatever you want to say to me. However, again, here are your boundaries.
Yes.
It cannot be disrespectful.
Yes.
You cannot, blase, blah. Like there were like here, but be free. And so I think for us, like we've always just had that great, like, we cool.
Yeah.
You cool. But I asked her when she was around 6 or 7, Amanda, is mommy your best friend? And she said, no, you are not. And this is why I never have to tell any one of her little friends, because she said, you are not my best friend. But she said this. She said, you're my mommy. She said, and that'll always be better than a best friend.
I love that.
And that's all I needed. I was like, because I was about to hit you, but
I'm not gonna lie, my feelings would have been hurt.
No, but she's always been this direct. And so when she said it, I was like, okay, then.
That stung a little bit.
But then when she brought it right back so quick, I was like,
she recovered.
You know how to make a mama feel good.
She recovered.
But I will never forget that. And so it's one of those things where, like, that's my homie.
And see, we went through some tumultuous times now.
That's
my daughter went through puberty. It was almost, we was in there like,
you almost
baby,
threw her outside.
It was knuck if you buck every
other day.
Every other day. We was in there like, we knucking and bucking and ready to fight. Do you hear me? But now that she's older, she's legit my best friend.
Yeah,
I could not imagine not having
her
in
right.
my life.
Like I'm trying to figure out what I'm finna do.
Oh, I can imagine.
I already started looking at house. My husband was like, that defeats the purpose of her going away. I was like, so not even like a look, huh?
No.
He was like, no. I was like, because.
Y'all gonna talk on the phone every day.
But I already asked her that too. She said, ma'am, no. I said, you're not gonna call me every day. She said, let's kind of work out something else.
Why does it feel like she's trying to break up with you? She trying to set the expectation.
We don't go together no more, mommy.
She said we breaking up.
She said, first of all, it's not gonna be every day. I said, well, okay, can we do at least every other day and text every day? She's like, I can work on that.
She trying to break it. She trying to let you down easy.
Real easy.
But I think that also goes to like that healing process, right? Because she is recognizing that in this season of her life, things are going to not only change for her.
Yeah, it's going to change for me.
I appreciate that she's recognizing that it's going to change for you. And as much as she wants to be free and like live her life, she's still like, okay, Ma, we can work on that. Like, she's not just like, peace out, I'll see you later. No. She's still trying to help you because that's going to be a healing process.
It's going to, and you know what?
That's going to be grief.
I was just about to say that. I was about to say it's grief. Yes. And I think that we don't realize that grief happens in so many areas of your life. And again, it's not, listen, A seed has to go into the ground and die, but it produces a beautiful plant.
Yeah.
Right? But it has to die first. And so grief is like death to that part of your life.
That's deep.
But it allows growth in another area.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so the seed has been sown. And then out of that is going to come another beautiful flower.
I love
and
that.
It's okay.
And this is going to also be another cycle of life for you.
Absolutely.
Like, how amazing is that? I think that's another part of just healing and being parenting, is these constant cycles of grief and growth.
Grief and growth.
Like continuing to have that cycle in your life where you're able to say, hey, I grew up like this.
Yep.
However, I recognize I'm going to take these parts that I need, just like that seed. It's going to take the nutrients from the soil that it needs, and it leaves the rest there, and it continues to grow. And then in each season, now I'm going to recognize something else, and I'm going to let that die, and I'm going to continue to grow. I think that's such an amazing analogy.
We literally fertilize with boo-boo.
Like,
it's a real fertilizer.
No, legit.
And so you take the boo-boo in your life.
Yes.
And you use it as a fertilizer.
To grow.
That's what healing looks like.
But you take the crap from your parenting, like how you grew. And like you said, everybody doesn't have this traumatic story.
Absolutely.
Of like being molested or something that's just this horrible thing. But you can also, like you said, just like, man, my mother never told me that she loved me when I was growing up. Like that. And I didn't, like you, I never not felt loved.
Right.
I didn't know that it should have felt any different. But as a mom, I was able to say,
I'm missing something. Because I'm like, what you say?
There's some aspects of my life that I was just like,
And that's important. We talk about this all the time, about being around other people in your village. And so when you see that in other aspects, what I feel like is that it should help you grow.
Yeah.
It should cause you to be able to say, hey, wait, there's something here with me, and I need to figure out what that is, because I haven't given that to my kid.
Yeah.
And it's not that we got to be like other people, but it's okay to recognize, like, hey, I could be better.
Oh, if iron is not sharpening iron, then what are we doing?
What are we doing? We just dull knives, can't even cut through butter.
At all. So what would you say for moms who are on this healing journey? But like you said, we can't stop.
Yeah, no.
Moms that are on this healing journey of just trying to deal with their own childhood stuff, or whether it be adulthood stuff or whatever it was stuff.
Yeah.
And you're still trying to be a great mom. What would you say, if you could say, like, step 1 is to do this? Yeah. What would you say that is?
Step 1 is to look inside. I'm gonna always start with that.
Yeah.
Look at you. Take a moment and just say, hey, what is this? Sit with that.
Yeah.
Sit with it for real.
It's that part.
And figure it out. Like, don't rush through that part.
Yeah.
Like, look here, sit with it, and figure it out. Because if you don't figure this out, you'll just keep covering it.
Yeah.
With different stuff, and it gets buried deeper and deeper and deeper. But when it comes out,
it's gonna explode.
It's so much pressure built up that it's like, so you have to sit with it.
Oof.
It don't feel good all the time.
It's that part. It's the sitting with it. But I feel like that's with anything. Like, it's the having to sit and be uncomfortable.
Uncomfortable.
Like, what are we doing? And you can't. It's like that saying of, like, wherever you go, there you are.
Where you going?
You can try to run from it your entire life, or you can run from it. But and at the end of the day, them kids are going to be a mirror to you every chance you get. So if you're not willing to sit with being uncomfortable and whatever it is, whether it be, I don't have this, the lack, the whatever it is that you're missing, then like, what
we doing?
Nothing. You're just going to continue to pass down that same mess to your kids, who are going to pass down to their children.
Correct.
Or you're going to build up resentment, or like this generation, a lot of them are like going silent from their parents.
And I hate that. I hate to see that.
They're going, what's it? No contact.
No contact. Please don't call me. I ain't got nothing to do with you. Blase, blase, blah. And I feel like part of that is because people, there's one thing to keep going, because we have to do that. Like, that's just a part of life. Like, you got to keep going. Yeah. However, in the keep going, there still is a moment where you're able to say, I got to look at me.
Yes.
It's like, and it's not about sitting still for 2 hours. Sometimes it's just, ooh, I don't like that. Write it down. Put it in your phone.
Yeah.
Like, make a mental note. Like, man, I need to come back to that and like figure out what that is. Or just share it with somebody. Hey, you know what? I realized that I don't like this, but I realize it's because.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll call me about that later. We need to talk about that and be done with it. You know what I'm saying? But you got to see you.
You have
I feel like that's the word for it. Self-awareness.
Yeah.
Self-awareness is important.
And do you think that if, let's say, I could just use me, my mom, if I acknowledge that there were some deficits in, like, two things can be true at the same time. She did the best she could.
Yeah.
However, she caused harm.
Yep.
So what would you say to parents who are parenting and they sit with themselves, they recognize, hey, this is the part that I played in this and this is the part that my parent played in this. What if the parent don't want to hear it?
Yep. I love that. I got a story for that. Yeah. So when I went away to school, my parents didn't have the money. My mother said, you're not taking out any loans. We're not taking out any loans. You're going to come back home and you're going to do XYZ. She gave me a plan. Okay. I was like, my plan was go away to school. We ain't got no money. Okay. Right? Now, that's funny too. But we don't have no money. I had to come back home. Years later, I was an adult. And I had this moment where I was like, I am mad at y'all because you didn't let me go to school and I'm still without a degree. And I had a conversation with my mother and my father. My mother said, you know what? Okay, we ain't had no money. We ain't seen the school. But what you doing now? And I think in that moment, I was like, no, I just need you to cry, hug me, and tell me you sorry.
Yeah.
Tell me that you should have did better. You should have let me, blah, blah, blah. And she didn't. And in that moment, I had to realize that was all I was going to get. And I had to be okay with it. Either I was going to keep wallowing in it and being upset and angry, or I was going to accept that that was all she was able to give me.
You weren't getting an apology.
And I wasn't getting anything else. That was my apology. But I'm not getting anything else. Now, I could choose to sit in that and be like, I'm going to be mad at y'all for the rest of my life because I don't have a degree. But the truth of the matter is that I'm very grown. I can go back to school. I can start looking for the things that I didn't know to look for then. I can do it. It's okay. I'm going to release you. I had to make that choice.
It's the releasing. Yes.
I had to make a choice to release her.
Yes.
And say, you know what? It's okay. Thank you for everything else.
Yes.
It was one part of my life. It was like the one part of my life. And so am I going to hold this one part of my life against her for the rest of my life and then negate everything else that was in my life? Like, it's like, come on now. Like, again, having that emotional intelligence and that maturity to say, it's okay, guys. Hey, that's all she had to give me. She said, I'm sorry. Now what you doing? And I was like,
you said, wait a minute, that's not what
I was like, I was not even looking for that. You should have bought me some ice cream or something that said you sorry.
You gave us,
but that's all she gave me.
Yeah.
So again, you have to make that choice. So I think with people who are dealing with that, like I talked to my mom, I talked to my dad, I talked to whoever, and they didn't give me what I wanted. Expect that you may not get what you want. Yeah. And then you have to make a choice to say, it's okay for me to move on, forgive, still love them, and move on.
It's that part. It's the moving on, because we have to move on.
At some point.
You have to. That was one of the best pieces of advice somebody gave me. I was talking to an elder about my mom. And I was just like, she just didn't love me. And I'm just going all off and this, and this. And I was like, I don't have anything to say to her. Same thing. I was like, I don't have anything to say to her. Forget it then. And I'm like, she is what she is, blah, 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 blah. And she said, at what point do you release yourself? And I said, release myself. She said, yeah, you're walking around putting yourself in this bondage and this hell about something that your mother probably doesn't even care about. She was like, Nikki, love her to the level she is able to love you back. She was like, and do not keep expecting her to give you all of the love that you wish you had as a kid. She said, because it's not coming. And I was like, oh.
Nope.
Okay.
All right then.
And ever since she said that, while my mother still does things to anger me. And I'm just like, see, even when I was young, you ain't this.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, all right, Ma, I love you. Have a great day. And I've set my own boundaries to heal myself. Like it is my responsibility to heal, not hers.
Correct.
She's never going to be able to heal me.
No.
I have to do the work and therapy to heal myself.
Yes.
So I think that was some of the biggest things that ever helped me be able to have a more cordial relationship with my mom, because I'm able to set up my own boundaries.
Correct.
So I think
expectations, real expectations. We have these unspoken false expectations. You got to be able to say, what's the reality of it?
Yeah.
And then be okay with the reality.
Yeah,
like, come out of la la land.
Yeah,
we ain't over
she
there.
might not be capable. And looking at her life, she wasn't loved. So who's she gonna say to give it to me? So I definitely appreciate this conversation because I feel like this is something that we need to have more in our community.
Yeah.
And I can just say, like, sis, like, one of the best pieces of advice that, like, Jacinta just gave, like, if we can leave this with anything, is to release yourself.
Yeah.
Like, you have to release yourself so that you can move on and parent these kids and make sure that not only did they have better than we had, but that they have a better experience than we had.
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, they're ours, they're our responsibility. And yes, we have our own stuff that we're carrying, but like Erykah Badu, we can't be the bag lady and keep passing this stuff down to our kids.
Yeah.
So definitely thanks for being here with us to have this important conversation. And join us next time on Just Breathe.